On April 8th, 2024, prepare yourself for an amazing cosmic event. We're getting ready to see a total solar eclipse, but this isn't just any eclipse. It's a very rare occurrence. Some interesting connections have been made to the 2024 elections, affecting the United States and Israel. There's even talk that this event could mean the end of the world. In today's video, we'll dive into the real meaning of this solar eclipse and explain what it could mean. Trust me, you won't want to miss the surprising conclusions. Throughout various parts of the Bible, we read about links between celestial events and end-time predictions. Verses often mention the sun, moon, stars, and eclipses in connection with the final days. For example, in Luke 21:25, Jesus talks about signs in these celestial bodies when discussing the end times. So when people see strange or rare astronomical events, they naturally start wondering if the end of the world is near. So how can we figure out if there's a real warning or if it's just part of a bigger plan? For this, we need to explore similar events in the Bible, look back at history, and carefully think about the circumstances. As Ecclesiastes 1:9 says, "What has happened before will happen again. There is nothing new under the sun." This means that history repeats itself. And here's the interesting part. God never changes. He always communicates and deals with sin and nations in the same way, as we've seen throughout history in the Bible. We see the same things happening over and over again, especially when it comes to idolatry and a nation's sin. Every important prophet in the Bible who talked about Israel's idolatry and sin also came with specific signs and warnings about what would happen next. Thinking about Revelation chapter 6, we see the symbols of the 4 horsemen, which represent God's punishment on nations. First, there's a figure symbolizing takeover or leadership, leading to division and global unrest. Next comes war, causing fights and disturbing the peace. Then famine follows, bringing economic struggles and agricultural problems. Finally, death arrives, spreading sickness and disease. While these events happen worldwide, they also repeat patterns seen throughout history. In the Bible, these signs often come in response to a nation's wrongdoings and worship of false gods, showing how God sometimes steps in to intervene. For example, God chose Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian leader, to bring punishment not only on Israel but also on neighboring nations. Before the attacks, Jeremiah the prophet warned of severe sickness and hunger, weakening the nations for Babylon's attack. In Jeremiah 38:2, the Lord's message said that those who surrendered to the Babylonian king would live, escaping with their lives as a reward. Looking at recent events starting from 2020, we've seen all 4 signs: sickness, hunger, economic problems, widespread protests, and the threat of war with Russia. These events affected not just America, but the whole world, reminding us of widespread wrongdoing and idolatry in nations, and showing that God is punishing the earth. While this doesn't mean it's the end of the world, the signs are clear, suggesting big changes are coming. If these are signs of punishment, there must be reasons behind them, and there must have been warnings or signs before these punishments, as God always tells his prophets what he plans to do. Now, let's explore the importance of the sun and the moon in predictive signs. Did you know that in biblical predictions, the moon consistently represents Israel, while the sun symbolizes the Gentile nations? Pay close attention because things are about to get more interesting. In the book of Genesis, it's revealed that the sun, the moon, and the stars were not created until the 4th day. Before that, light already existed on the earth, along with vegetation like trees and flowers created on the 3rd day. It's interesting to note that trees and plants rely on sunlight and rain, but the sun itself wasn't created until the 4th day. This shows us the crucial role of the sun and the moon in sustaining Earth's climate and ecosystems. Without them, There would be no ocean currents, hence no weather, and consequently, no rain. In ancient times, rain wasn't common until the days of Noah's flood. Genesis 2:5 explains that there were still no shrubs or plants because God hadn't sent rain yet, relying instead on streams that rose from the earth to water the ground. So why did God create plants on the third day before the sun, the moon, or rain existed? It turns out the sun and the moon had a completely different role. Together, Genesis 1:14-19 describes how God created these celestial bodies to separate the day from the night and serve as markers for sacred times, festivals, and seasons. They were meant to govern the passing of days, years, and the timing of important events. These celestial signs have particular significance in biblical predictions, especially concerning the last days. Joel 2:30-31 speaks of wonders in the heavens and on earth, including the darkening of the sun and the turning of the moon into blood, signaling the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. This picture represents upcoming unrest, with blood symbolizing war and judgment, while smoke and fire signify volcanic explosions and earthquakes. These sky events are prophetic signs, as Jesus himself predicted earthquakes, volcanoes, wars, and other disturbances as forerunners to important events. Did you know that the blood moon tetrad from 2014 to 2015 had a connection to Israel? During that time, there were 4 total lunar eclipses, also known as blood moons, happening in rapid succession, precisely coinciding with 4 significant Jewish festivals, forming what they called the blood moon tetrad. However, many struggled to understand the meaning of this particular sign, and its significance remains unknown to this day. The number 4 often symbolizes the universal authority of God's word. Symbolically, the moon represents God's protection and oversight over the nation and people of Israel. The reddish color of the eclipse was seen as a sign of impending bloodshed, a signal of impending judgment. Given that the eclipses spanned a period of 2 years, the number 2, biblically associated with division, was seen as a warning regarding the potential division of the land of Israel. Referring to Joel 3:12, the Bible talks about a crucial event that triggers the 7-year tribulation period and the judgment of nations. It describes a time when God will gather all nations in the valley of Jehoshaphat for judgment, specifically for their unfair treatment of Israel, including the scattering of the people and the division of the land. We are seeing nations dividing the land of Israel, a situation hinted at in the book of Joel. The Bible even points out specific nations responsible for this division, namely Tyre and Sidon. What you are about to see next is quite shocking. Sidon and Tyre were areas inhabited by the Phoenicians, known for their expertise in trade. The prophet Ezekiel in Ezekiel 28 mentions the ruler of Tyre as a forerunner to the Antichrist. After the Greek and Roman conquests of Tyre and Sidon, the Phoenicians may have moved to Greece and Rome. Interestingly, the entire European land was named by the Phoenicians after the daughter of the renowned Phoenician king of Tyre, Europa. Today, the European Union, the United Nations, and even America are connected to the ancient regions of Tyre and Sidon, once lived in by the Phoenicians. These modern nations are expected to play a part in shaping and promoting the 7-year peace agreement, as foretold in the Bible, which will be confirmed by the Antichrist. It is vital to understand the importance of this and what it means for the future. Now, in 2017, 2 significant and unusual events occurred in America. First, on August 21, 2017, there was a notable event known as the Great American Solar Eclipse, visible across the nation from the west coast to the east coast of the United States. However, it's crucial to know that an eclipse alone doesn't hold much importance unless accompanied by other events that align with biblical and Israelite contexts. The following month, on September 23, 2017, another remarkably rare event happened involving the alignment of stars and constellations known as the sign of Revelation 12. On this date, the constellations of Virgo and Leo, along with Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, the Sun, and the Moon, aligned in a unique way resembling the depiction of Revelation 12 in the Bible. Did you know that this alignment occurred only twice in history? Well, here's where things get even more surprising. Keep your eyes on these constellations, as they will be significant again in relation to the 2024 eclipse. Revelation 12 warns us about the conflict between the Antichrist, known as the Beast, and the saints, as well as the rebirth of Israel in Jerusalem as a nation. Both of these signs together served as a severe warning to the United States regarding Israel. Regarding the splitting of the land, 3.5 years later symbolize how this division may happen with the Antichrist. From August 2017 to January 28, 2020, President Donald Trump suggested a century deal called Peace to Prosperity. He supported a two-state solution, giving 70% of Israel's land, including half of Jerusalem, to the Palestinians, the ancient foes of Israel, for their own state. 3 months later, the pandemic started, causing widespread harm worldwide. This was followed by significant money problems, social unrest, fights with Russia, and the loss of leadership for both Netanyahu and Trump in 2020. Surprisingly, instead of seeing the signs of the four horsemen as expected, we saw them happening in reverse order. Also, due to these events, we saw the creation of alliances like Gog and Magog, mainly with the oil countries of OPEC joining BRICS alliances, including China. These groups are challenging the power of the American dollar in trade, causing big price increases and the likely crash of the banking system in the U.S. Shockingly, all these events were predicted in the Bible about Israel in the end times. Amidst the turbulent events of the early 21st century, the world witnessed a surprising twist of fate, the unfolding of ancient predictions in reverse order. For generations, scholars and believers alike had expected the arrival of the four horsemen, signs of doom and destruction as foretold in the book of Revelation. Yet to the surprise of many, the sequence of events played out differently from what was anticipated. As the first horseman, representing conquest and warfare, failed to appear as predicted, the world watched in disbelief as subsequent horsemen emerged in an unexpected order. Conflict and disease, usually the signs of chaos, gave way to economic turmoil and geopolitical shifts of unprecedented scale. In the aftermath of these upheavals, the global landscape changed in unforeseen ways, giving rise to new alliances and power dynamics. Among them, the rise of Gog and Magog, ancient adversaries mentioned in biblical prophecy, took center stage. Fueled by the economic strength of oil-producing nations within OPEC, and bolstered by strategic partnerships with rising powers like China within BRICS alliances, Gog and Magog posed a significant challenge to the dominance of the Western world. Their goal? To challenge the dominance of the American dollar in global trade, triggering significant shifts in financial markets and threatening the stability of the international banking system. As prices soared and currencies faltered, the threat of a banking crisis loomed large over the United States, sending shockwaves through the global economy. Yet amidst the chaos and uncertainty, one undeniable truth emerged. The events unfolding before the world's eyes were strikingly similar to the prophetic warnings contained within the pages of Scripture. From the rise of Gog and Magog to the challenges to the American dollar, each development seemed to mirror the ancient prophecies of Israel's fate in the end times. In the corridors of power and the halls of academia, debates raged over the significance of these events and their implications for the future of humanity. Was it mere coincidence or a fulfillment of divine prophecy? As the world grappled with this question, one thing remained clear. The mysteries of the future were as puzzling as ever, their secrets hidden within the pages of history and the whispers of prophecy. In the wake of the unusual events unfolding worldwide, people found themselves at a crossroads of history and prophecy. As countries dealt with the aftermath of unexpected changes, scholars, religious leaders, and regular folks alike were drawn into a whirlwind of speculation and analysis. The change in the Four Horsemen's order, long expected as signs of major changes, surprised religious communities and academics. For years, the signs of conquest, war, famine, and death were seen as sure signs of the end of the world. But as conflict and disease gave way to economic problems and shifts in global politics, the traditional understanding of prophecy was questioned. Amid this uncertainty, the rise of Gog and Magog became more important. Rooted in ancient texts and stories, these legendary enemies became symbols of changing power on the world stage. Driven by money and political ambitions, the alliance between oil-producing nations and growing global powers posed a big challenge to how things were. As power changed hands and old friendships fell apart, the global economy shook with uncertainty. The American dollar, once the strongest currency, faced new threats, causing big changes in financial markets and worries about a banking crisis. In the midst of all this chaos, people argued about what the prophecies meant. Were these events just happening by chance? Or were they the things the old predictions talked about coming true? People kept debating as they tried to understand what was happening. But even with all this confusion, some found hope. They saw the connection between the prophecies and the world events as a reminder of how connected humanity is to forces we don't fully understand. And even when things seemed uncertain, faith offered comfort and the promise of better times ahead. In the midst of this upheaval, the emergence of Gog and Magog took on increased importance. Rooted in ancient stories and ideas about the end times, these mythical enemies became strong symbols of shifting global power. Driven by economic needs and political ambitions, the partnership between oil-producing countries and growing global powers posed a big challenge to the current world order. As political lines shifted and old friendships weakened, the effects were felt strongly in the world of money. The once very strong position of the American dollar faced new threats, causing big changes in financial markets and leading to worries about a banking crisis. In this time of big change, debates happened about what prophecies meant. Were these events just happening by chance, or were they what ancient predictions said would happen? Amid all these different views, faith became a source of comfort and hope, giving people something to hold on to during uncertain times and offering a bit of light during dark moments of doubt. In these unsure times, one thing was clear. The mysterious mix of prophecy and the unpredictable twists of history were tightly woven together, making a story that was very complex and interesting, capturing the attention of people all over the world. Moving on to April 8th, 2024. 7 years after the first eclipse in August 2017, another eclipse is expected to happen. This time, it will be seen all over the United States, but it will only cover the eastern half of the country and will come 7 months before the 2024 presidential elections. Interestingly, just like the sign of Revelation 12, the constellation of Leo, representing Judah and Jerusalem, will line up with the solar eclipse on April 8, 2024. This constellation is linked with the Lion of Judah, who stands for Jesus. So, what does all this mean? Against the background of the upcoming 2024 presidential elections, the timing of this sky phenomenon couldn't be more interesting, raising questions about its possible meaning in the political scene. However, among the sky show and the rich stories of religion, questions linger like whispers of space dust. What message, if any, hides within the alignment of these cosmic elements? Is it a sign of divine action, a cosmic nod to old stories, or just a sky coincidence? As the countdown to April 8, 2024 continues, the world waits eagerly, looking for the uncovering of the sky drama that plays above. Whatever the final explanation may be, one thing stays sure. This sky event promises to be a moment of amazement, thought, and perhaps even discovery for those who stare at the sky with open hearts and curious thoughts. In biblical prediction, the number 7 often represents completion, marking the end of a cycle. In this context, it signifies the conclusion of Israel's 70 weeks of judgment, symbolized by cycles of 7 years. This eclipse isn't necessarily a warning of future events, but rather a reflection of past occurrences linked to the future. The X shape formed by the eclipse resembles the Hebrew letter Tav, symbolizing a mark or seal. This letter is significant as it appears only twice in the Bible, including Ezekiel chapter 9, where it signifies a seal of protection on those mourning for the sins of the first Jewish temple before its destruction by Babylon. Similarly, it recalls the marking of doorposts during the first Passover in Exodus, foreshadowing the mark of the beast and the seal of protection over the 144,000 witnesses during the 7-year tribulation period. Therefore, the Tav mark in the United States signifies both protection and judgment, especially regarding the division of the land of Israel. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.